Hey everyone, Steve here. Welcome back to another lesson. Hope you've all been well. Just wanted to let you know I've just recently set up a Patreon and you can support this channel from as little as $1 a month, and in return you'll get access to my Patreon feed where you can have your say in what lessons and what content I will make later on. And also I'll upload an extra tutorial video and little tips and stuff for you once a month. It will all go towards helping me keep my website up and running and also give me motivation to keep making these videos for you. So in this lesson we will look at the Lydian scale, what it is and how we can use it. As you may or may not know, the Lydian scale is part of 7 modes, and there's a lot of material out there on how to use these modes, and usually I find these videos can be quite, at best, vague, or you don't understand them at all. So in this lesson I hope to try and rectify that and explain the modes better, so how you can use them and how you can apply them to your own songwriting techniques. So let's get started. I'm in standard tuning and I'll be in the key of B major, and we'll be playing E Lydian, as I can let the lower E ring there, so that you'll see and hear why I need that low E later on. First, let's play through the Lydian scale so you can get an idea of how it sounds. And from the open E, so it doesn't really sound like much. It's when we put the harmony behind it. So in our case E Lydian. So it sounds kind of dreamy, happy, but seems to be underpinned with like a little bit of tension and a little bit of sadness. I think it's a really nice sounding mode. So what makes it sound Lydian? How we go about this is we take a look at the 4th note of any key, and that's where we build our Lydian scale from. So for example, in our case we have the key of B major, and the 4th note in B major, as you can see, is the E. So this is where we'll build our E Lydian scale from. If you look at the E Lydian scale, we can see we have the same notes as B major, but they're in a different order. But hang on, wouldn't this just mean we're playing a B major scale, but the notes are in a different order? But technically this is correct, and this is where it starts to get a little confusing with the modes. So don't worry, I'm here to help. Each mode has its own key notes, so spellings that we must play in order to give the characteristic sound of that mode. So here you can see all 7 modes. So we're interested in the Lydian mode, and as you can see, the Lydian mode, what is the key note in the Lydian mode? It's the sharp 4th, an augmented 4th. So what you must do next is whatever notes that you wish to play, you build the major scale and then you apply the spelling to it, or whatever mode spelling to it. So in our case we have the note E. So if we have an E major scale, you can see the notes here. We have E, F sharp, G sharp, A, B, C sharp, and D sharp. So if we apply the Lydian spelling, the sharp 4th, then what's the 4th note in E? It's the E, F, G. So it's the A. It's the A natural. So if we sharpen it, it becomes A sharp. So now we've come back to the same notes as B major, right? But there's one last step we must do, and that's where the low E I told you about becomes important. So we need to apply the harmony for our ears to, or in order for our ears to be able to hear the mode that we're wishing to play. So if I play an E and then play the E Lydian scale, it gives it that Lydian sound. Basically, if I was to play an E and then instead of playing the E Lydian scale, just play an E major scale, so now it sounds just like an E major scale, right? So when we apply the sharp fourth, the A sharp, sounds quite clashy, but this is, remember, the key note that to make Lydian, the augmented fourth. So here again. In the major, regular A, sharpened fourth, but as you may notice, sharpened fourth is quite clashing, right? So it's good, I find it's good not to just stick on that note too much, kind of pass over it. And it will signify to the listener that we are playing an E Lydian. Maybe they don't know what Lydian is, but you can hear that there's that different sound that Lydian gives you. So I hope that explains things a bit better. I'll give you one last example just to try and clarify this. So if we jump back to our key of B major, and let's say for example we wanted to play the Dorian mode, the second mode, this time, so what's the Dorian mode is the second note. So what's the second note in B major? It's a C sharp. So if we want to build the Dorian mode, remember first we must take C sharp and make it C sharp major scale, right? So looking at the notes in in C sharp, if we apply the spelling, the Dorian spelling, which is a flat third and a flat seventh, as we can see in the chart here, that gives us the third note, which is a E sharp, and the seventh note, which is a B sharp. If we flatten them both, then we get E natural and B natural, right? So again, we've ended up with the same spelling that is B major, right? But the notes are in the different order. So if we played a C sharp minor, some kind of variation, and then played the Dorian mode, we want to hit those characteristic notes, right? So we want to get the E and the B in there. Yes, it sounds quite bluesy, the Dorian scale does. So that's another example, so hopefully you can start to understand how they're pieced together, these modes. So right, on to examples. First up is an example using E Lydian again, so we're in the key of B major. It's kind of an example of an outro to a song that I wrote. So that example I made use of the E Lydian scale from the open E and then the octave above as well. And I passed over that A sharp note to make it sound like it's in a Lydian key, right? one more thing, the next thing I'd quickly like to add before we look at the next example is that any mode that you're going to be playing in a key is just using the same notes, right, but just in a different order. So that means if we take a look at all of the modes, as you can see here, I've put the black notes the starting note for each mode, but they're just the same notes repeated in different orders. But remember, it's the harmony behind that's going to make the sound of each mode, and also we need to play the key notes that make up each mode. So if I was just to play E Lydian, I could take any of these shapes as long as I've got the right harmony behind it. For example, any kind of E variation, E major variation, and I could play any of these shapes and I'll be able to get that Lydian sound as long as I'm using the A sharp still as well. So I wanted to tell you this because the next example is exactly what I do. So I'm using a number of different modes to give you the Lydian sound. So let's take a look at that example. Sounds nice, right? I hit the A sharp just the one time. So I hit the A sharp one time there. It's not really enough. You get the Lydian sound from it, but I'm using the Locrian and the B major mode there as well, the Ionian mode, sorry. You could change the B there to the A sharp, which makes it sound even more Lydian, whereas the other one sounds a bit more major, and then you get the Lydian elements when I do hit the A sharp in the final run there. That's kind of riff is inspired by American football. I just have those elements, I think, to it. And it's a song I wrote for my band Mountains. It's called Past, and that'll be on our upcoming album. So I'll give you a quick sneak preview of how that riff fits in context. How did that sound? Did you like that? It's kind of the final track on the album. It's kind of a ballady kind of track, and you'll be able to get it soon on our Bandcamp. So that's it for this lesson. Hit me up in the comments if you got any questions that I didn't explain stuff well enough for you. And as always, please like and subscribe, and check out my Patreon account as well, and please support the channel and let me keep making videos for you. So that's all for this time. See you next time. Bye bye.